All right, the Day of Reckoning card is almost upon us. We're all looking forward to it. I know I certainly am. I personally can't wait. I think this card is going to be absolutely flipping brilliant. And I think we're guaranteed, well, certainly with some of the fights, they are, on paper mismatches. We're guaranteed a lot of knockouts. It's very rare you look at a card like this and the lightest weight on it in terms of weight division is light heavyweight. That's normally one of, if not the kind of higher weights that you see on these cards. If there's a heavyweight fight, maybe light heavyweight is the next highest division. It's the lightest on this card. It's light heavy, cruiser, and heavy. Can't remember the time where I've ever seen a card like this. It's very much stacked. It's a fight card I'm looking forward to. About 9 p.m. Saturday night, we will be doing a live watch along. I personally can't wait for the live watch along. I think it's going to be absolutely electric. I hope we get the numbers that we got for the Fury and Ngannou watch along. We got nearly 1,000 that night. Let's try and do it this time. And I think that could be possibly the night we break the 15k mark. We're about 180 off it, so we could possibly break it on Saturday. Let's see. But let's talk about the main event of the evening. We know now this will be the final fight, which is Joshua versus Wallin. There was talk it might be Parker Wilder, but no, it's going to be this card. Let's talk briefly about these guys, give a pick on this fight. Let's talk a little bit about the tail of the tape, starting off with Anthony Joshua, fighting out of the United Kingdom, 34 years old, 6'6", 82-inch reach. He has a record of 26 wins, 3 defeats. One of those 3 losses was a knockout loss to Andy Ruiz, a stoppage loss, I should say. He was able to avenge that. Obviously, only 3 of his fights in victory have gone to points. Jermaine Franklin, Joseph Parker, and Andy Ruiz. Those 3. I think of those 3 there. Let's look at his opponent now, Otto Wallin. Otto Wallin, he is based now in New York City. I think he's based in Manhattan or Brooklyn, one or the other. But he originally is from Sweden, Scandinavia. 33 years old, 6'5", with a 78-inch reach. So he's a little bit shorter in terms of height than Anthony Joshua, and he gives away 4 inches in reach. We look at his record. His record consists of also 26 wins, only the 1 defeat. 14 of those wins coming by way of knockout. His 1 loss was against Tyson Fury 4 years ago. I think that fight was in Vegas. Yeah, it was in the T-Mobile in Vegas. He gave a very good account of himself in that fight, even in defeat. I mean, you look at the scorecards, you have a 118, 110, 170, 111, and 116, 112. That would be kind of what I would tend to incline it was. It was around about that type of fight. He was able to cut Tyson Fury very badly over the eye. And potentially, if that fight had been against, someone else, let's just say a Dominic Brazil, maybe even a Dylan White, that fight potentially could have been stopped on that cut. Gave a good account of himself in defeat. Since then, his best win since then is probably fair to say Morakasiev, which he actually only just beat him September just gone. So him and Anthony Joshua have both been active. He's had 2 fights already this year. He had 1 there in January. That was an 8-rounder. And then he obviously had the Morakasiev fight. This is his 3rd fight in 2023, as is the case with Anthony Joshua as well. So both these guys have been active. You wouldn't imagine ring rust is going to have a detriment. Was certainly not on Otto Wallin. I mean, he only fought, less than 3 months ago and went the full 12. So both guys should come into this fight reasonably fresh. Neither guy is really taking a beating in their careers. I would imagine there's not much miles on either guy. Otto Wallin, I believe he is the slightly younger of the 2. Yeah, he's a year younger, so only a year. But neither guy is really taking a pasting in their career. So I doubt there's very many miles on either guy's clock. So you're talking about 2 heavyweight contenders that should really be fresh. A lot of people are saying that this is the fight that they feel, if there is an upset, it's the most likely one. Now, Anthony Joshua has been, a bit reserved in some interviews. I did see him say that, he's going to break, that's, what would you call it? Not even, just say, going in there with a southpaw and he's going to C2 Otto Wallin. Otto Wallin has been, saying that Anthony Joshua mentally, is he really there? What's going on? That's a question people do have to ask. You look at his last 2 performances against Jermaine Franklin. Even though he won it clearly, it wasn't, it didn't, make jaws drop, put it like that, for the right reasons anyway. And then you go and you look at him against Robert Helenius, who is, fair to say, it's seen better days a decade ago. A fight that really should have been easier for Joshua, and he could have made it easier for himself. He really could have. And you look at those 2 performances and you would say, right, Wallin is a step up. How big a step up? I think he's a much bigger step up than Robert Helenius, and I do think he is a bigger step up than, of course, Jermaine Franklin. But does he pose a risk in there? It's going to be interesting, because obviously Anthony Joshua coming into this fight, he is no longer training with Derek James, who was in his corner for those last two fights. He's now with Ben Davison. Ben Davison was obviously in the corner for Tyson Fury for the sole loss on Oliver Lean's resume. So maybe Ben Davison, Joshua feels he knows a few things about Otto Wallin. He knows a little bit about his style that maybe Derek James couldn't. Maybe he feels he'll get more out of Ben Davison. I don't know the ins and outs, but it's going to be interesting to see how he looks with Ben Davison. You know, not every fighter can swap from one trainer to another and instantly you see results. You know, Tyson Fury is a good example. He went from Ben Davison to Sugar Hill Stewart and instantly we saw results. That's not normally the case. You know, Amir Khan left Freddie Roach post Danny Garcia. And, you know, many people thought Freddie Roach was a good fit for Amir Khan. He went to Virgil Hunter. Now, Virgil Hunter was known for training Andre Ward from the amateurs, turning them pro, and obviously Andre Ward, a tremendous fighter. Some people were kind of saying, okay, look, let's see how Amir Khan looked with Virgil Hunter. Well, you look at this first fight against Carlos Molina. It wasn't really anything. Then he fought Juan Diaz, fought him in Sheffield. Deontay Wilder fought on that undercard. I think he fought Audley Harrison, and he gets dropped in that fight and labors to a decision. Then it clicks. It didn't click overnight. It did click. Louis Collazo, great performance, dropped Louis Collazo several times, and probably a career best performance against Devin Alexander in 2014. That was really Amir Khan really gelling, and that was him blending in with Sugar Hill. What am I saying? Sugar Hill. Virgil Hunter. I have to think of the name there. It normally does take roughly a year. So it's going to be interesting to see, will Anthony Joshua, will he get mixed up between, is Ben Davison going to try? Maybe Ben Davison, because he knows himself that, look, I don't have a great deal amount of time to train with Joshua. Maybe I'm not going to add any wrinkles to his game. I'm just going to refine what he already does well and try and focus on that, potentially. If you want my thoughts on this fight, right? Joshua, people are saying he's going to need to be more aggressive. And I think he will, because I think that Otto Wallin, in the nicest way, he's a pound shop Alexander Usyk. He's bigger than Alexander Usyk. He's not as fast. He's not as talented. He probably is stronger. And probably, well, punch power-wise, I really don't know. You know, Wallin hasn't shown himself to be a devastating puncher. He has respect. I'm sure you wouldn't stand in front of him and give him a free hit, but he hasn't shown any real devastating power. You know, Dominic Brazil, every time he stepped up, he's been stopped. Even in some of his wins, like against Izu Wagono, he's hit the canvas. He's a heavyweight who can be hurt. Otto Wallin never put a dent in him. You know, having said that though, in his fight against Murat Gassiev, just gone in the 6th round, he was able to shake Gassiev up with a shot. And Gassiev never really showed any chin issues. Certainly down a career, was in with big punchers like Dorticos. So it's going to be interesting to see how Anthony Joshua, a lot of people are saying that Joshua should be able to take his power. And I'd say he probably will. But you're not going to want to go in reckless. I'll put it like that. You're not going to want to give someone a free hit. Many people believe that Tyson Fury on a couple of occasions was rocked against Otto Wallin. I think that, you know, he felt the weight of some of the shots, but I don't think he's ever really in trouble. Right? But he wants to be careful, Anthony Joshua, because Wallin is actually quite good at disguising some of them shots. And actually, something that I think Joshua should be doing is something that Wallin does. In that fight against Tyson Fury, Wallin was having some success by actually bringing his jab down a little bit low. Not quite a body jab, but more so kind of on the chest area of Tyson Fury and making him bring the hands down a little bit, and then a left hand over. An overhand left, and it landed a couple of times. Joshua's going to want to be careful of that. Right, he's going to want to be very careful of that, because if there is a lot more weight on those shots, and bear in mind, Joshua was stunned a couple of times, certainly in the first fight, by Alexander Usyk. Right, Alexander Usyk, not noted as a big puncher himself. So if he's able to rock Anthony Joshua, or at least keep him honest, I really don't see any reason as to why Otto Wallin can't. Otto Wallin can move quite well. He's good at rolling with some shots. I think the right hand for Joshua is going to be crucial. And I think that, I've said this before, one of the best performances I've seen from Joshua was against Alexander Povetkin. A very different style, very different dimensions. Yes, I will attest to that. However, if you see some of the things he was doing subtly, and I believe Angel Fernandez was the guy's name who had a lot of influence with Joshua in that fight, even though he was with Rob McCracken. You saw Anthony Joshua use his jab a lot in that fight to not just keep Povetkin honest, but to wear him down. And interestingly, he wasn't using that jab to the head. It was a very hard tutting jab to Alexander Povetkin's body. That will offset your balance, especially if you're coming in as a heavyweight. If you're just getting jabbed to the body, it might not be necessarily hurting you, but it's putting you off balance and you mightn't be able to get your lead hand off, right? Also, what it does is it saps your strength because it's a heavy jab that Anthony Joshua throws. And what was he doing after a while? He was jabbing to Povetkin's body and then he was following up with the right hand to the head. As those hands came down, Povetkin was expecting it. Boom, a right hand comes into the head. The southpaw right hand is, it's the punch you throw against the southpaw. And I think it's going to be there for Anthony Joshua. Also, Joshua throws very good short shots. His hooks, his uppercuts are both very, very good. A punch that I felt that would have been key against Alexander Usyk, which really irked me that he never threw it. Well, he did throw it occasionally, but not enough to have success with it, was the uppercut. The right uppercut thrown against the fighter in the southpaw stance is a punch that should be there. And it's a punch that should be used. And Joshua has a very good uppercut when he lets it go. It's a very good uppercut. It's a very good punch. It's a punch that some people don't even really think about. But you look at some of his knockouts, Klitschko, Pulev, etc. The uppercut. And I think he needs to use that against Otto Wallin. Otto Wallin, I don't like some of the things he's been mentioning. With him, he comes across as a very kind of passive character. And you can see that in the way he fights at times. Yeah, against Fury, he was game. He came to win. But I don't see him as being a guy. I don't see him quite being as bad as Parker for being pedestrian and passive, but I don't think he's going to be necessarily one of these guys who, if the fight is there to win, he's going to go and grab it. I don't think he's going to be one of those guys either. And I think in this fight, he should know, right, I'm the away guy. If I go in there and fight the way I did against Murat Gassiev, and bear in mind Joshua is just an all-round better fighter, he's not going to win. Even against Gassiev was the home fighter, really. Even though it was in Turkey, I think it was. You could tell by the scorecards. Even though they gave it to Wallin, Gassiev was the guy. He was the guy they were looking to win. And, if he goes in and just tries to get into a boxing match, jab his way, pick up rounds, and just pot shot points, I can't see them giving it to Otto Wallin. Even if it's a say for argument's sake, right, it's a 5-7 round or 5-7 fight, and it looks like Wallin has got it. Expect him to give it to Joshua. Probably by a couple of points, truth be told. You got to factor in as well the Deontay Wilder fight potentially being signed, two-way fight as well, and that's got to factor into things as well. And Joshua, obviously, he is the A side. That's no ifs or buts. He is the A side. So Otto Wallin is going to have to be aggressive in this fight, and that could come to his detriment. But he's not going to win a decision. It always baffles me when I hear fighters who, deep down, I'm sure they know that they are really the B-side fighter. They're not going in as the home fighter. And, you hear their plan and they're like, oh, I'm just going to box to a game plan and win on points. It's like, no, you really should. That shouldn't really be your game plan. I know that sounds bad, but you really should be going in thinking, I need to win every round big, not just do what I always do, because it's not going to work like that. So often do we see that. The B-side goes in and maybe it's a close nip and tuck fight. They don't get it. So he's going to want to be aggressive as well. He's going to want to be doing what I was saying about getting the jab going to the body and then looking to follow up with the right hand. He's not the slowest heavyweight in the world, is Otto Wallin. He's not the fastest either. He's certainly no Usyk, as I said, but he's tricky. He's awkward. The more I look at this fight, the more I kind of think, okay, is it a points fight? Because if Otto Wallin tries early on and it's not working, he could just revert to type and just go for the moral victory and go and look to win on points. Joshua has spoken in the past about wanting to outdo his rivals. He spoke about when Deontay Wilder fought Dominic Breazeale, he didn't really want Wilder to do it in quicker fashion than he did. And some argue that maybe that's why he went in against Andy Ruiz and was looking to make his own statement. Well, if he can go in there and stop Otto Wallin, that's a big statement. It's certainly compared to what Tyson Fury did, because Fury didn't look good that night. He really didn't. He still got the job done, to be fair. So Joshua may be going in looking to make a statement. Let's wait and see. It's all well and good to hear, I'm this and that, blah, 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 but on fight night is when we all see it. For me, people are saying that this is the one that's most likely to be an upset. I don't think it is. right? I think that this is. I've always felt Joshua wins. I think Wallin is game. He's no pushover. At least I don't think he will be. But I don't think he's going to win this fight. And to be honest with you, my pick for this fight is Anthony Joshua late stoppage. I'd be surprised if it was early. I would be surprised. But late on, Joshua gets ahead of steam, finds a bit of finds some extra energy, paces himself, lets the shots go. I think he'll get him out of there. I do. I think he will. I think he'll be able to get him out of there. He's a harder puncher than Tyson Fury, is Anthony Joshua. He does certain things better than Tyson Fury. Better short punches. Really, really good right hand. More power there. I think he's going to be able to wear Otto Wallin down and eventually take him out late. That's my pick for this fight. I am going with Wilder to beat Parker and Joshua to beat Otto Wallin. Because I'm picking them, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen. Right? Upsets happen when you least expect them. Plan ahead at the heavyweight division at your peril, because you just don't know. But out of the two fights, Wilder Parker, Otto Wallin, Anthony Joshua, I would say that Wilder Parker has the potential for an upset, more so than this fight. For me, I see this as a fairly, competitive, but it's a fairly clear-cut win for Anthony Joshua, in my opinion. I could be wrong. Wilder could go in there and he could blitz Joseph Parker. Otto Wallin goes in there and he hurts Joshua, drops him, wins a couple of rounds, and boom, we get to the end of the fight and it's a 115, 113 Otto Wallin. Where the hell did that come from? I never would have thought. That could happen. We'll have to wait and see on fight night. My pick for now, Joshua late stoppage over Otto Wallin. That's what I'm going with. That's my pick for this fight. Let me know yours in the comment section below. How you think this fight's going to go, what your thoughts are, what your pick is. Leave it all in the comments. I hope you enjoyed it, people. As always, let me know. I'm interested to hear what some of you guys have to say. And of course, Saturday night, I hope you can all join me. Live watch along. I can't wait for this card. It is going to be flipping electric. I'll leave it there. Peace.